Well, good Monday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. I hope everybody's doing good on this Monday. It is Monday, May 15th. And I've been gone. We've been working on the red brick house so much. I've been spending so much time there trying to get this thing done, but we can see light at the end of the tunnel. The guys are hanging drywall as we speak. I'll have to go back down there tomorrow. We may be having water. The city's going to be hooking up the water, hopefully, if there's an 8-inch main across the street. Possibly this week, we might actually have a toilet working. You know, it's coming along so well. Things are changing and evolving on a daily basis. And eventually, people have asked me, well, what are you going to do with the place? My first thing was to save a piece of history. The next thing is have a place when I'm down there working, because I have my hands in multitudes of things, okay? People want to know, are you moving there? Eventually, we will sell our house here, and we are going to be looking for like 30, 40, 50 acres of land where we're going to build a really nice house that will be our final house, and look to build like cottages. You know how we've had people like my man Randy Seitz or Game Time come to the house and things. You know, even Joseph Heatherly's been here, and them boys Kicks, where they come through and hang out for a game. My ultimate vision is we have a really nice house and a place, a great big outdoor kitchen and, outdoor studio and big screen TV, and people can come stay a weekend and talk football, eat, see the workshop, and be a getaway. And ultimately, as me and my friends or family members get older, a way of, instead of going into a retirement home where you're just kind of shelved, you can be near friends and family where there's strength in numbers, where, we can look out for each other. But if I get tired of you, you got your own house as opposed to living in my house, so to speak. So that's the ultimate vision. And in the meantime, we're working on building affordable housing, because there's a need for good housing for people. And so that's just a piece in the step of it. But I also envision being able to have people come, stay at the red brick house, spend a night in a historic home, people that were tied to it, that, grew up there, could spend a night there and things like that. So that's it's been a goal and everything else, but that's not why you're here. But that's the answer to that question. Let me say shout out to all the mothers yesterday. I apologize that we did not do our Sunday live stream. It just was, the traffic was just so bad getting back up the road, and I went to see my mother and take her some koi and things. By the time I got back, it was late, I was tired, and it was like, you know what, we're just not going to have it today, but we'll make it up. Maybe we'll start our live stream tonight, or maybe we'll allow you guys, maybe we'll post the link so that way you guys can chime in tonight for the live stream. Maybe that's what we'll do. And shout out to my wife, because she's always finding great stuff for Joe Boo. She has found a nice chair. Look, you see, Joe Boo is now chilling. It's like, after all these years of standing, they finally got my ass a chair. So he's chilling with his shot glass, ready to go. So here we are. I haven't been sitting in this spot since last Wednesday, and I haven't really paid attention to the clock. I think it was at 1:20 or 1:21. So I'm going to look at the clock right now, the countdown to the season. And we are down to, oh my God, 115 days, 10 hours, 19 minutes, and 25 seconds away from kickoff of the 2023 season. Damn, it is flying fast and furious. We've got mini camp June 8th, 6th through 8th. That's 3 weeks away, guys. It's Memorial Weekend in a couple of weeks. The summer is here. This offseason is flying through, and it has been enjoyable. It seemed like last offseason was the baton death march, that it seemed like we were never going to get there. that last offseason was so bad. And see, this is where we got to count our blessings. I don't understand how anybody right now, as a Dallas Cowboy fan, can be down on this team after the way this offseason has been a complete 180 from where we were last year. Now, it may end up being that it ends up blowing up in our face, because what happened last year? Six teams did not make the playoffs that did the year before. There's always that turnover, which always is crazy to me, as when you look at the preseason polls or the post-draft polls and everything, they always go through and basically, if they were a good team last year, they automatically are going to basically move them exactly where they were, and not take into consideration that teams are going to, evolve and devolve. But I want to take you back for a few moments here to make you appreciate the fact that we ended up making a trade for Stephon Gilmore with the 5th round pick, to make you appreciate that we went out and got Brandon Cooks with a 5th round draft pick, to make you appreciate that the Dallas Cowboys recognize that we want to help Micah Parsons to become defensive MVP, and we're finally focusing in on the defensive line. To make you appreciate that Tyron Smith, you brought back that veteran, but you got him at a reduced rate. To make you appreciate that we finally got rid of Kellen Moore and let a guy who at least has coached the team to win a Super Bowl, let him at least do the cooking on the team. Let you appreciate that Jerry Jones is not interfering with the team as much as they did with Jason Garrett. To make you appreciate that Will McClay kind of had the final say on who we were drafting, a guy who has literally changed drafting for the Dallas Cowboys since he's been the head of scouting. Because here's where we were a year ago.
It's official. This is the worst Dallas Cowboys offseason of the century, Mac.
Name me one. Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday, Kevin, and I can't think of a headline. I can't think of. We're almost at 4 months in, right? We're almost at April, and I went back to January 1. Think about how negative it's all been.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I, God bless the Cowboys. I know you guys are the flagship. They let you guys say whatever you want to say. For my 3 years there's only one time, Sean, that they said, yeah, don't ask that question. Everything else, it's been fair game.
Yeah.
Not everybody does that. We saw with the Washington Commanders.
Yes.
Their flagship station saying, oh, thank God we can talk about the Commanders now. No longer affiliated with them.
Right.
So, but I looked at really, when I looked at just like a day-by-day timeline, they beat the Eagles on January 8th. They lost 2 out of their 3 games, right? They blame the officials for basically 2 of the 3 losses, which is terrible. Dak Prescott sits there and endorses fans throwing junk at officials after the San Francisco game. He has to come out and apologize. You've got a PR director who retires. No big deal. 2 weeks later, there's this horrible story about him being accused of voyeurism, which he denied.
Yep.
But the Cowboys have to throw a $2.5 million check at 4 cheerleaders. Dak Prescott has another surgery. The Cowboys trade a wide receiver that they used the number 1 pick on back in 2018.
Can you believe?
For a 5th because the coaching staff doesn't like him, right? Then they give all this money to a guy who tore his ACL on January 2nd. Michael Gallup's not going to be ready for camp, right? Tank Lawrence is their best pass rusher. He comes back, that's a highlight. Jerry Jones gets named in a Springer-like lawsuit.
This was crazy.
Whom the Cowboys stuck by, despite the fact that he had done nothing for them for years, gives them the middle finger, right, on a flip. Then they've got to cut Lyle Collins because the coaching staff didn't like him. But they kept their punter.
Mac, why is Stephen Jones the Alan Greenspan of the NFL?
That's a great one-liner, by the way.
Thank you very much. Because it's so – we see all these teams.
It is crazy where the offseason has been. That's literally how bad it was last year. Okay? Everything has changed with the Dallas Cowboys. And I mean everything. Stephen Jones is no longer Catboy. He is not the guy who's out there, we're looking for value. You can't pay, players. Dak's got to leave money on the table. They've been out there making deals. Granted, they've been doing them frugally, but they've been making moves to get more talent, to keep the ones that we deemed well, and to stay young. This is just unbelievable. I can't wait to see how this cake comes out. See, after it's finished baking, we pull it out of the oven and the season gets here. Now, I'm going to turn my sights a little bit here because I've got a New York Jet fan who's pissed. Okay, I try to be a good citizen. I try to be a beacon of light. I try to help others, but somehow people like to hate me. I'm sorry. I just don't see the Jets being a team that let me go through here. It's Lindsay. Oh, I think is it? No. I'm sorry. No, sorry, wrong person. Last year, the Jets were 4th in their division, 7-10. They had the 29th scoring offense and 25th in yards. Now, I know Aaron Rodgers is far and away better quarterback than anybody that they've had since probably Joe Namath, and he's better than Joe Namath. Joe Namath had a great running game, FYI. That Super Bowl they won, it was really the running game that did. But, that's revisionist history. It's just because he guaranteed the victory and they won against all odds. But I don't see this New York Jet team in a division that's pretty competitive. Buffalo was, Super Bowl favorite last year, right? You got Miami that's, got the cheetah. They're really good. And New England has owned their ass for like the last 6 years. Have you seen the schedule for the New York Jets? They're in prime time. If nothing else, Woody Johnson has changed the New York Jets to where they will be seen on the NFL. And maybe that's all he needs is the money because they're going to be seen in prime time forever. This schedule is brutal. They could be out of it by week 8. Just look at this for a second. Just look at this. Okay, so they play at home. They open up at home against Buffalo, right? Monday Night Football. Okay. Buffalo's pretty good. Then they play on the road in Dallas, right? The Sunday prime evening game. They play at home against New England, a team that's owned them. Then they play at home against Kansas City. Then they got to go to Denver. Now, Denver should be better with Sean Payton. I don't think that Russell Wilson was as bad as he was last year. I don't think that's the real Russell Wilson, but we'll see. Then after Denver, you got to come back and you got to play at home against the Eagles. Last I checked, Buffalo, Dallas, Kansas City, Philadelphia. 4 of the games of their first 6 are playoff teams. And let me throw in there, after the bye week, they got the New York Giants. That was a playoff team too. So in the first 7 games, they got 5 playoff teams from the year before and only 2 teams that didn't make the playoffs. Let's go a little further. You then have the Chargers at home. You go to the Raiders. We don't know what the Raiders are going to be with Jimmy G, but they do have Devontae Adams. That helps. Then you got to play Buffalo again. Then you got to play Miami. You got to play Atlanta. It gets better in the second half of the season. Atlanta, Houston, You got two there that you should be able to hopefully win easily. But then you got Miami. Washington, we don't know what they're going to be. Sam Howell, we'll see what he is the second year. Cleveland should be better. Deshaun Watson won't be as bad. And New England. Now, the guy the Jet fan, basically has said, called me everything but a child of God. I guess you turned down the bet. I hear you now saying maybe you want to put money. Oh, okay, so this was a response. So I guess you turned that down. I hear you saying Parsons is going to win the Super Bowl. Maybe you'll put your money on that. $500 bet still stands. If Cowboys win Super Bowl, you get $500. If not, you pay me $500. I just think you are going to run your mouth regardless all the time, and you really believe that what you're saying, then bet it up. Okay, I'm not a gambler. Okay, if you want to do like I do with the Eagles, with Philly 500, we'll do a shirt bet. I'm not betting money on that. Sorry, just don't do that. I mean, hell, if I bet money with Philly with Cop Pizzle, I'd be rich right now. But I just don't do that. That's not me. Sorry. But I'm just trying to see, Jason, where you're getting 10 wins. Let's say. Okay, I tell you what. Let's see how many games or teams that didn't make the playoffs. New England, Cleveland, Washington, Houston, Atlanta, Raiders, Denver, and New England. So 9 games you have against playoff teams. 9 games. I don't see where you're getting 10 wins on that schedule. I just don't. It's one of those cases of it's a great story, but Aaron Rodgers played like ass last year. Aaron Rodgers last year with the Packers offense, it looked like the Jets offense. But that's why you played the season. You just don't know. Now, I want to finish this up this morning with Rich Eisen, because at least Rich Eisen does take into consideration and does remind you that there is always turnover in teams from one year to the next. You really don't know if you have a tough schedule or not until really October. I always tell people, don't get too excited about what you see in September or too upset, because the real teams don't really start showing till about middle of October. Let's listen in.
Toughest schedule. Let's talk about, in my mind, toughest schedule. Throw out the whole business of strength of schedule. Easy, tough, throw it out, because you're using last year's numbers.
Yeah.
Last year, the number of teams to make the playoffs after missing the previous season, 6. 2 seasons before that, 7. 2019, 5 teams. 2018, 7 teams. Throw it out. There's going to be, on average, based in the last 5 years, potentially half of the playoff field will be new. So you don't know. So when you look at schedules, you've got to see what is the toughest in terms of ordering them, where you are. Giants have a really tough schedule. They've gotten 6 of their first 10 are on the road. That ain't easy. But to me, the toughest schedule in the NFL belongs to the Los Angeles Rams. That's a fact. Because they're one of 4 teams to finish the season on the road with back-to-back games. Only 4 teams. And yet, they start the season with 3 out of 4 on the road. And 2 of them are in the Eastern time zone. Out west, one of them's a Monday night game at Cincinnati. So obviously, the league wants to have a nationally televised Super Bowl rematch. I get it. One's at Indianapolis. Well, I imagine they'll stay out there, right? What, are they going to fly back to Los Angeles in a short week, turn around and go back to Indianapolis? I don't know. They got to sit there and have those conversations right now in their offices. Also, what also makes it tough? Only one team in the NFL, one
team,
plays 4 games against teams coming off a bye.
Wow, that's hell.
And that's the Rams. The Niners have 4 games, such games, but one of the games is coming against a team coming off a bye. They're also coming off a bye, not the Rams.
That is
The
brutal.
Rams have 4 games in which they're playing, and then the next week a team's coming off a bye. Week 7 against Pittsburgh, Week 8 at Dallas, Week 14 at Baltimore, Week 15 home against Washington. So 2 teams with late byes, they're playing them after it. Late in a season. That's a tough schedule. So everybody's like, oh, what a tough schedule. Ooh, the Rams are playing the NFC West. That's not that tough a division because of Arizona, whatever. I'm not talking because you can't predict how good teams are.
This is true.
You can predict how you feel when you're going from the West to the Eastern time zone. You can do that.
Facts.
You can predict, boy, that's a tough road trip. How far you're going. 3 of the first 4 on the road. Only 4 teams finished with 2 in a row on the road at the end of the season. Rams are one of them. And the only team in the league with 4 games against teams coming off of byes, and you're not one of the teams as well. Because the Niners have 4 games against teams coming off a bye, but they're 1 game against Jacksonville. The Niners are coming off a bye themselves. That's the toughest schedule. And if you're Stan Kroenke, you're calling somebody up in the league office saying, well, what's up with that?
Yeah. What's up with that? What gives?
And somebody might remind him, like, how's L.A. treating you? And he's probably saying, pretty well.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Feeling good, Lewis? Pretty
Park
good.
is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Staring at the trophy in the case. Yep. Catch the Rich Eisen show every
Yeah,
single
that's
day
the
on the
thing
Roku
that's
channel.
interesting. At least I appreciate Rich Eisen and his insight. You know, it's not all the hype of automatically you figure. The Eagles, Super Bowl losers last year, they're automatically going to go back to the Super Bowl. And it's like, that's not what happens to teams that lose the Super Bowl. They usually go back down to earth. Teams that win the division in the NFC East, since the Eagles repeated in 2003-2004 season, on average drop 3.1 games per season, and none of them have had a better record the next year. It's kind of interesting what happens to the NFC East. And on top of it, this year, that schedule that the Eagles have is going to be a lot harder than where it's been. But hey, what do I know? I'm a guy with a day job, a voodoo doll from his mama's basement. I'll see you guys later. Don't forget our live stream tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern. Peace.
Coach here, as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being